if you would like to leave your contact details in the chat, you can do so. Like can write your LinkedIn profile or like what you do, and just like shortly introduce us, all of you, to the audience. That would be great. And so I will be sharing the link to the pitch decks in a little while of the 3 startups that we will hear from tonight. And so if you have any questions to the startups during the event, you can use the chat to ask your questions. And if we have enough time, I will read the questions out loud, and the presenters can respond directly. So welcome everyone once again to the Real Estate and Proptech Pitch Night. And my name is Maciej, and I am organizing pitch nights at the Startup Club for over 3.5 years now. So I'm pretty used to this event. And yes, let me introduce you to the 3 startups that we have tonight. The first one is ClimateKick with Eduardo Francesco Sabatino. The second one tonight will be Verv Energy with James Dursley. The third one is FreedHome with Luigi Visconti. And now to the format of the event. Each startup will have 10 minutes to pitch, and after that it's 10 minutes of feedback and questions from the advisors. As I said, anyone can use the chat to ask questions and to network during the event. And a few words about the Startup Club. The Startup Club is a one-stop shop for the global entrepreneur community. And our vision is to assist businesses in their capital structuring and growth by connecting entrepreneurs and investors during our pitch nights. And yes, through our pitch nights and investor networking conferences, the Startup Club helps startups, scale-ups, and growing companies to reach their funding and development needs. We have been hosting over 100 successful events in the past 5 years, and our guests are angel groups, high net worth investors, venture capital firms, private equity funds, and other investment professionals. We are proud to have over 70,000 members in our online network, and we are active across several industries, such as green tech, fintech, real estate, also food tech, and fashion, beauty, and luxury goods, and health tech, of course, too. Yes, so if you want to know more about us, you can check our website or our LinkedIn page and you will see all our upcoming events. So now let's ask our advisors to introduce themselves shortly. Tonight we have Meredith from GoingVC Partners and Mike Plichta from Proptech Farm. So Mike, would you like to introduce yourself first? Mike?
Maybe start with Meredith.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. Hello? I'm just introduced the audience to Mike Plichta from Proptech Farm. Mike, are you with us now?
Yeah, I think.
Oh, hi, Mike. Hi, nice to meet you.
Yes, hello, pleasure to meet you.
Hi. Yeah, so I just did a short introduction about the Startup Club and the event. And now I wanted to ask the board members to introduce yourselves shortly. So Mike, if you'd like to start.
Yes, with pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for introduction. Thank you for invitation. It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Mike Plichta. I'm with Proptech Farm. So the Proptech Farm is a venture capital fund investing in real estate technologies originating from the Nordics in Sweden, where we deployed our first fund of 20 million USD into innovative startups across Europe and Southeast Asia. And now we are starting another fund, Proptech Farm APAC, which I will be running together with our partners from Fusion for Ventures and Australia region. And we are going to invest into real estate and sustainability technologies for the built environment across Southeast Asia and Australia. That's my focus. And another fund, a growth fund for Europe, will be launched also in the Nordics region of 50 million USD. So we are looking for companies that with a global growth potential where we can utilize our presence across different geographies and markets, when we can make most of our expertise in those different regions. Our partners have experience in building companies and running real estate enterprises and investing across globe into early stage, seed and late stage businesses. Our partners were leading real estate companies quoted on Australian Stock Exchange and exited at multiples up to over 30x. And we have also partners who grew the businesses starting as founders and solo entrepreneurs up to over 1,000 employees and multi-billion dollar exits to private equity. My background is in venture capital and finance, and I'm originally from Poland. Now I moved to Southeast Asia, and I'm based in Thailand, but I have close connections with European markets. I worked in seed and corporate VC here in Europe, and I also advise European Commission and the largest greenhouse gas emission reduction fund in Europe, the Innovation Fund, with 35 billion euros for investment into green technologies and net zero technologies. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation, and I'm very much looking forward to all the exciting startups and pitches today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike, for this great introduction. And our second advisor tonight is Meredith from GoingVC Partners. Hi, Meredith. Are you here with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah,
Hi,
great.
how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you? Nice to meet
I'm
you.
good. Thank you for inviting me. Happy to be here.
Would you like to tell us a bit more about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So right now I'm with two venture funds. One is GoingVC Partners, where we're investing in pre-seed startups, and the check size is around 250K to 500K. We're industry agnostic. So my second fund is I'm currently with CapQ Ventures. Basically, it's a tri-party venture fund where we deploy 1/3 of capital in venture investing, 1/3 in private equity, 1/3 in private credit. My background is working as a product designer in Proptech, so I leverage my domain knowledge to venture investing in Proptech. So representing my fund, basically we have investing interest in Proptech, fintech, and vertical SaaS. So for Proptech deals, basically we're looking for driven founders with growth potential, great traction, and also demonstrating the potential, to drive the business growth. And also we're looking for the alignment between the business model with the go-to-market strategy. Thank you. Hi, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, you muted.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Meredith, for the introduction. Now we can go right into the first pitch presentation, which is Eduardo Francesco Sabatino and ClimateKick. So Eduardo, whenever you're ready, you can share your screen and start the 10-minute pitch.
Yes, absolutely. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Eduardo Francesco Sabatino. I'm connected from Hong Kong here, quite late, but happy to join this pitching event. So I'm about to share my desktop soon. Please let me know when you can see it.
Yes, I can say it.
Can you see my pitch?
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. So whenever you talk about climate change, you are talking about the greatest challenge of humankind. But it turns out that the greatest challenge is also the greatest business opportunity that we have today, which is already affecting the flow of human capital, intellectual capital, and financial capital. Now, let me put it in a perspective here. We know that if we want to get to carbon neutrality, we need to invest something around 150 trillion by 2050, of which the 70% of it is expected to be invested by the private sector. Now, when we look at the private sector in particular, we know that greenwashing is affecting the development of it. At ClimateKick, we solve greenwashing by moving from a concept of corporate funding to project specific, so that our investors will always know how their money are generating an impact into the world. The business model that we are adopting at ClimateKick is the green digital investment banking model. What we do in a nutshell is to originate the assets, structure them by using digital technologies such as the blockchain, and then we distribute those assets to institutional investors. Now, when we look at the origination side of the business, we scout projects across green technologies such as solar, wind, battery storage, and green hydrogen. We aim at scouting projects in a range from 50 to 200 million, and we aim at investing from 10 to 50 million. We deal with infrastructure developers, green technology developers. We can do club deals with financial advisors, but we are also in a chat with some government agencies. To this player, we create value by broadening their investment portfolio, bringing liquidity and pricing discovery to a sector which is very difficult to explore, which is the private asset sector. And finally, we standardize the documentation process. When we look at the distribution side, we aim at proposing our deals to those crypto funds, infrastructure investors, family offices, the climate investment funds, which are mid-market player and do not have the sustainable finance department within their organizational structure. To them, we bring skills and expertise in climate finance, and we share our deal flow of opportunities to them. The process that I just described to you has been recently used by top-notch investment banks such as HSBC, BNP Paribas, Societe Generale, KKR, and ABN AMRO. The model that we're looking at is the digital green bond model. And you would ask, well, but why a digital green bond? And what is the benefit of financial tokenization into this sector? And according to the Bank for International Settlement, we can summarize those benefits in three main areas. First of all, by using financial tokenization, we can open a market to small, medium funds, which are excluded from the main syndication business. Second, smart contracts generate transaction execution and management efficiencies. And third, we can create the secondary market trading of green private assets. Looking in details at the financial structure of these deals, the kind of assets that we're looking at are the project finance assets, where I won't spend a lot of time on how this project is structured, but I would love to focus on the right side of the slide, where you can see that for 100 million transaction, usually these deals are done with 20 million equity and 80 million of debt. On this, there is the debt side is mostly done by the support of banks, which usually allocate the 30% of the liquidity needed, and then the 50% of it is usually private debt placement. Now, the main issue here is that when you want to get into this kind of deals, you need to invest at least 25 million, which at the same time represent a limit in scaling climate technologies worldwide. This is what we do at ClimateKick. We always commit 25 million to our green project developers, but on ClimateKick side, we distribute smaller token to those infrastructure investors which have an interest in entering into this kind of assets. And therefore, we can scale quickly and globally climate technologies all over the globe. We have released our prototype, which is a B2B platform where our investors will find 3 areas of investment opportunities: green investments, nature-based investments, and circular economy investments. Now, when we look at the green investments, we can find a broad range of investment opportunities across different technologies. And by entering into detail on the single project, you will find more details about the asset and how to get involved into the investment process. We are early stage, but we already achieved the global exposure. We have done the Columbia Startup Lab in New York, where we set up our business all over the Americas, and we are already looking at one transaction in California. In Europe, we won the Climate Investment Challenge in London, which is the leading competition worldwide for new financial technologies. And we got into the Greenhouse, which is the leading sustainability accelerator in Europe, based in London, backed by Imperial College and HSBC. And finally, in London, we are among the only 2 startups part of the UK Centre of Green Finance and Investments, which is the government agency which is relating with anything related to green finance. And finally, in Hong Kong, we did the ideation program at the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park, together with the Hong Kong University. And we are very proud to share that we've been selected by a top-notch fintech accelerator in Asia Pacific, which is Cyberport, where just today we started the program, setting a real footprint in Hong Kong with potential of scalability across the Asia Pacific. And finally, we've been recently selected by Barclays as a pioneers in climate fintech. We've been selected among the top 25 startups in climate fintech, and we are doing their acceleration program between London and New York. Regarding the team, we are all climate financiers in the business team, coming from the investment banking sector. Myself, I started my career in Accenture, then I moved into investment banking, where I've done several things. I developed a unit focused on artificial intelligence and machine learning, and then I jumped into sustainable finance, where I developed the practice for a large European investment fund here in Hong Kong with coverage China, Japan, Singapore, India, and Australia. And then given the results obtained, they called me in Wall Street. So I moved into New York and I developed the same practice, but with coverage in North America. Then I did my MBA at Columbia Business School. It was a global program in partnership with London Business School and the Hong Kong University. And during that program, I conceived the idea of ClimateKick, which I'm now very proud to run. Together with me, I have Robert, who is also coming from investment banking. He worked at Santander, and we have 2 analysts which are supporting our endeavors in the business side. Regarding the tech team instead, we have top-notch experts coming from the leading players in the blockchain space, especially when it comes to the tokenization of assets. We are also very proud of our mentors. On the business side, we have mentors from Barclays, Goldman Sachs, Citi, and Aviva Investors. And on the tech side, mentors from top-notch banks, government agencies, and universities too. Regarding the next upcoming deadlines, we will focus on, first of all, closing deals. We are aim at generating in 5 years' time 180 million. With this, we will need 60 million of direct cost and 70 million of capex in 5 years' time. Second, we have an investment round open. We are raising 3 million. This is going to be a safe contract or a NASA for the UK investors, and we're going to use that money for the product development, both front end and back end, and for human resources. And finally, partnership. Because at the very essence of ClimateKick, there is the strong conviction that anything about change human civilization started with someone. No one can do everything, but everyone can do something. Climate change is everyone's problem, and the only way to cope with it is by doing it together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eduardo. Great pitch. Thank you. Let's hear from our advisors. Let's ask Mike for his feedback and questions.
Yeah, thank you, Eduardo, for a great pitch, and congratulations on the project. And happy to see you're tackling this very interesting and very important area. Also happy to see you're active in the Asian regions, in East Asia, in Hong Kong. Maybe at some point in time there will be opportunity in Singapore. So looking forward to that. On the business side, I have a few questions. If you could elaborate a bit more why you decided to use the distributed ledger technology, so the blockchain here, how you work with it? Is it a private blockchain? So to give us a bit more insights or why you decided to go for blockchain instead of typical financial solution, and what are the upsides?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for your question, Mike. And yes, happy to explore opportunities in Singapore, where, as you know, the blockchain, the regulated space of blockchain is fast evolving. Now, going to your question. So there are several reasons why we are looking at this technology. First of all, it's a way to open a market to players which today are excluded from the main syndication business, mostly managed by large institutions. The syndication of deals is mostly done in a structured way with global banks. Now, when it comes to this project, which are mid-market projects, those market operators do not have a way to syndicate this project by using a common structure. The blockchain offers that opportunity. And how are we going to do that? We are looking at the same financial structure that HSBC and so public blockchain and private blockchain. What does it mean? It means that, as you know, if we are going to only use the public blockchain.
Sorry, Eduardo, I'm not sure. Is it only me, or I think you're cutting out the voice?
Eduardo, we couldn't hear you. We cannot hear you now.
Yes, so the last thing I heard was that you're using the structure similar as HSBC in terms of combination of the public and private blockchain.
Right. How is the line now?
Yeah, now, no, it was fine, and now again, cannot hear you. Cannot hear
The
you.
line is good. It seems like if your headsets,
Mutes
you on and off.
Okay. You.
Okay, now we see just a black screen.
Okay. How is it now?
It seems better.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, great. So I had a problem with the headphones separately. Apologies for that. Yeah. So yes, I was saying that the reason of using the blockchain is because in the traditional market, the syndication pool of these deals is mostly shared among big banks. Now, using the blockchain is a way to open a market opportunity to mid-market players which cannot access to the global banks syndication model. Now, going to your question, how we're going to do that? We're going to use a mix of public and private blockchain, which is the same structure that has been used by HSBC and KKR before. What does it mean? As you know, if we use the public blockchain, when it comes to the distribution side of the asset, we cannot really control who is going to buy the asset. Where instead, by using this mix of public-private blockchain, we use the power, the computational power of the public blockchain, but we allow only specific selected investors that have gone through AML and KYC processes to buy those assets and to hold it. Then in case they want to resell it into the market, they need to go back to ClimateKick and say, look, we're going to sell the asset. You need to help us in exploring those opportunities. And this is a good way for us also to work on the secondary market. So once that will happen, we will help our clients in selling the assets on the secondary.
Okay, so are you planning to actively facilitate the secondaries market?
Yes, we will need to have capacity to get there. We will start in dealing with origination and primary assets. Then once we have enough capacity of deals executed, we will also do that because it's going to be a second way of generating revenues. And at the same time, we will bring liquidity and pricing discovery into the secondary market trading. This might happen in the next 4 years.
Okay, thank you for that. And one more question from my end. How do you source the project? Like, do you work with some external advisors, or do you do it manually?
So it's a mix of using our personal networks. We've been, as I told you before, we are all climate financiers. We dealt with these project developers. We know them. We know what they need, and we know how to explore opportunities with them. So it's a personal relationship. And at the same time, we are also using other partners. We've been involved into the network of Bloomberg New Energy Finance. There are some discussion going on with them. It's under NDA, so I'm happy to share more on this eventually on a due diligence. So it's a great way to leverage their network to explore also business opportunities over there.
Okay.
And yeah.
Thank you for that. And just one last quick question out of curiosity. You mentioned green hydrogen projects. Any reason to exclude blue hydrogen, or would you also consider those?
Look, it depends on project by project. Like I've seen in my career, blue hydrogen projects with a clear offsetting path, which in that case might be eligible for our investors. Now, what is most important for us is that the sustainability setting of those projects must be very clear and easy to understand for our institutional investors. We don't want to create the traditional structure of an ESG kind of transaction where the KPIs are set on a corporate strategy and they are very difficult to track. We want to look at the project itself. So if the project has a good offsetting pathway, we're happy to do it and to consider also blue hydrogen. Otherwise, we would prefer to focus only on the green one, where we know that the energy is green and the way is going to the way we are going to use that energy to generate hydrogen is sustainability compliant.
Okay, got it. Great, thank you. Maybe just one piece of advice, if I may, or maybe you have already looked at it. There is an interesting list of projects supported by European Commission in that innovation fund that's governed by CINEA, CINEA, and that's a public and open list of the very innovative greenhouse gas emission reduction projects that very often are also looking for financial closing in the next few years. So it might be an interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. I didn't know it. We will definitely look into that, especially, well, if there would be chance, there are already a couple of things that I would love to share more on a private side. We are looking at some opportunities in Europe. So that might be really good.
Happy to chat offline, and I pass over to my colleague, Nat.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. And let's hear from Meredith, and we can go ahead and ask your questions.
Sure. Hi, Eduardo. Very impressive deal. Thank you so much for the great presentation. Congratulations on your achievement so far. So my first question is, when you think about tapping into different markets, Europe, Asia, North America, do you have different go-to-market strategies based on the current technology usage? Like how do you plan to tap into different market? Yeah, based on the differences.
So thank you so much for your question, Meredith. So when it comes to the technology itself that we're going to use at ClimateKick, which is the financial tokenization process, the way we're going to structure the token is basically a way that can be adopted and scaled across technologies, because the financial tokenization part is very much straightforward. Now, what is going to create a difference on the different geographies is the regulation and the stage of development on each area, which we are providing and integrating in our solution according to the green taxonomies being adopted on the single region. So I'll give you a clear instance. What we are doing is to develop our green digital bond according to the European green taxonomies. This is because the European Union and the European regulation is the most advanced one globally. Then to reconcile the differences with the other taxonomies all over the globe, we are also providing a benchmarking with the local regulation. Like I've been working with the Common Ground taxonomy, which is a linkage between the European green taxonomies and the Chinese green taxonomies, so that our investors, for instance, in China, will always know how an asset can be classified in the local regulation, keeping always as a reference the top-notch one, which is the European one. Then another example that I can bring you is, for instance, the Americas market, where, as we know, there are not taxonomies going on, but there are great benefits generated by the Inflation Reduction Act. So for those kind of players, it's not really relevant the compliance of this asset according to the regulation, but the eligibility of those assets for the Inflation Reduction Act. So we try to match the needs of our investors depending on where they operate in the different markets. but the technology per se is actually the same. Then we just customize it depending on the different needs, which give us a great, a good room for scalability.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. I like the idea of localization plus globalization. I think it's a very efficient model given the cost efficiency technology you're using. So my next question is, have you ever heard about the idea of green credit? So I've sourced some deals where the founders implement some credit to their tokenization. So think about as a way to add additional features. Maybe this is something down the road you can think about. It's optional. Basically, they adopt this idea to convince the regulation divisions like, oh, they want to be part of the policy change makers. They want to be empowered to do that. So this might be a very smart way to navigate the regulation changes if the founders are saying, hey, we want to be part of the changes by ourselves. I don't know if you will consider this, but this is like a trend I'm seeing these days. Like they want to have this idea like, hey, we want to give you some credit for some investors who are not willing to take the risk on this deal. So this might be a solution for that. I'm like, are you thinking about implement new additional features down the road after this phase of scaling?
Yeah, absolutely, and I do understand, and I do see their market opportunity. And as you know, this sector is evolving so fast, which I personally believe that we're just seeing not even the start of this sector. That gives us a room to explore other opportunities in the future. Now, as you know, being in this stage, we need to keep focus on our core asset, on our core business model. And then once we get a track record on our business model, then we'll be in a position to add other asset classes. So there will be, and we are already working on a pipeline of other products that we're going to include in ClimateKick offering. That might happen in the next 2 to 3 years. Before, I just want to keep the focus of the team on deploying on our core model. And then, of course, we'll always keep an eye on the most profitable assets and the most profitable solution to generate value for our clients. So yes, we will do that along the road, but I want to keep focus on deploying for the next 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Product is always the main focus. And thank you so much for your insight. Great answers.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Eduardo and Meredith. Okay, now we will move to the next presenter, which is James Dursley. Hi, James.
Hi, Maciej. Thanks so much.
Hi. You can, whenever you're ready, you can share your screen and start your pitch.
Okay, lovely. First and foremost, thanks so much for having me. Before I share my screen, just a little bit of background. So I am actually a new CEO. I've been brought in to Verv. The founder has actually gone over to North America to start our North American market. And I've been brought in to drive commercial growth in EMEA, actually, funnily enough, out into Asia, Mike. So that's something which is in our roadmap whilst we look at European growth and also into North America, where the founder is now based out of the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator to really start our products over there. So just a bit of a sort of introduction there. I've come from a Proptech background, so some of you in the VC space may know me from that, sort of being one of the very founder members of the Proptech community and building all of that. And one of the key drivers for me in terms of real change within the real estate industry globally was that of sustainability at the heart of the agenda. And that when I was approached about taking on this role, I realized how much of a change I could make within it. And as a consequence, I decided that actually it was the right route for me to come in as a CEO and drive growth. So that's why I started this role back in January. So let me just share my screen, and hopefully we will then be able to go into everything together. So there you go. That should now be shared. If you could just let me know just if that is okay, that is...
Yes, you can see it perfectly.
So, as I said, my name is James Dursley. I'm the CEO at Verv, and we're on a mission to eliminate the 4% of global energy consumption that's currently wasted on inefficient heating and cooling systems, which is something that impacts every single one of us within the built environment. So just some top line considerations. We are really dealing with a large global challenge in heating and cooling systems, or HVAC systems as they're sort of traditionally known, with 84% of buildings having no building management system. We can activate these buildings massively quickly. We've got 14 global patents, which have been independently valued at 14 million euros. The total addressable market is absolutely gigantic, with over 500 million existing air conditioning units and a recurring potential of at least 20 million units every year. And we have 2 considerable distributor manufacturing deals on the table with expected revenues of over 1 million for each of those deals over the next 3 years. And these are UK specific. We're not even talking about anything outside of that into the US, Europe, or beyond. The interesting thing for me, and part of the reason I joined, is it's not completely software. What was really interesting for me, having seen so many Proptech software solutions over the years fail, I liked the idea of a hardware-software combination. And there are 4 diverse revenue schemes with IP sales of over $1 million back in 2023 is just one of those revenue streams. But I have been brought on to drive their MRR and ARR to really go for a Series A next year. Just to sort of conclude, really what I'm here for is we have got a pre-Series A, which has already closed out 1 million with a lead investor of One Planet Capital and Rockstart, both based, actually one in the UK, one in the Netherlands. And we're looking to close a further 250 to 500,000 at a 12 million pre-money valuation, with the idea being that in Q1 2025, we will be looking at that Series A round for genuine global expansion with a predominance around Europe and Asia, because obviously we've already started elsewhere. So let me just tell you in terms of some of the challenges that we face in the built environment, and those of you in Proptech will probably know some of this already. We are the largest contributor of energy and carbon wastage. However, one of the challenges we have is actually monitoring our HVAC systems. They are the largest contributor to the largest problem around energy wastage globally. There is also a considerable challenge about managing the data that is produced, but also managing what we do with that data. There is mandatory ESG reporting, which is coming more and more prevalent, both in the EU and also for those of you, I think, Doran, I think Meredith, you guys will know of things like Local Law 97 out of New York. We will know the CSDR reporting in the EU. These are all becoming much more compliance-led and considerable, and there's a challenge around the management of this reporting. And then lastly, really expensive and required maintenance. The third M is a $79 billion industry as of 2023, and really HVAC systems are second only to lift servicing, which you have to have mandated and maintained. And what we're trying to do is move from a scheduled maintenance plan, which is you just have to have it, to a data-driven, to a predictive maintenance form. And ultimately, what is hooking all of this together is 84% of buildings under 50,000 square foot do not have a building management system. And some of you in Proptech will be aware of businesses like DeepKey, Measurable, Demand Logic, if you're understanding of the UK market. These are all dependent on having building management systems. And actually, we don't need a building management system. In fact, we can augment these businesses to make them even bigger and better than what they are. So what we are a hardware solution, and it's patent protected. We have a smart AI isolator, which is ultimately this device here, which you will see next to any of the air conditioning devices or chillers on any of your buildings in North America and most of mainland Europe, because they are legally mandated products. But actually, this isn't the product. It's actually the PC board which sits within it. It is currently a dumb device, and we are making it smart. And in a sense, because they are so easy to fit, they can be both used as new and retrofit devices. And as I said, we have a suite of products, because this is about a PCB board that fits within something. But our primary use at the moment is an isolator system. They're really, really quick and simple to install, about 30 minutes by a standard electrician. On a simple basis, as soon as they are fitted, we are able to instantly measure the energy flow that is coming through an HVAC system. And so we are able to turn that monitoring on for businesses that can't currently monitor energy levels. What we can also do is we have third-party integrations which enable you to actually manage that device. So when it's hit a certain temperature, we can control your HVAC system and turn it off, which currently is not possible, again, unless you have a BMS in place. So that's the basic, simple aspect of it all. But what we are then able to do, the really clever stuff and where the machine learning comes in, is on a much more advanced level, we are listening to the actual energy flow that is going through the system, or so-called harmonics. And we're able to do that because we sample at a 10 kilohertz rate, whereas, for example, a building management system will sample a piece of data once every 15 minutes. And so where we're actually able to start isolating, finding faults, we're able to then start predicting those faults as well, which again, when you're looking at a BMS system, they can't do that. They're not sampling enough to actually understand the harmonic disturbance that an electricity system will have if, for example, a fault has been shown, like a blocked filter. So what's the value proposition in the real estate world? If you are building new buildings, ultimately, why would you ever need or use a dumb isolator again? You want to future-proof your building with everything that we can do with our PC board stuck within the isolators in the future. For existing new buildings, we can ultimately validate and augment existing building systems, detecting faults well ahead of time with your predictive maintenance. But the key element here is those non-BMS buildings, which are 84% of the building stock, and in fact, 89% in the US, we give you a very cost-effective and simple method to understand and optimize your HVAC systems very, very quickly. Case studies, we installed a single unit in Mitsubishi's head office, and as a consequence of that, saved them 32% in terms of their energy consumption, which then led to a new build case study, which was a legal and general rollout in their brand new headquarters with 450 units, which are just about start turning on. And just to give you an example of perhaps a non-isolator product where we put our PCB board actually within a plug, which was attached to a single water heater, where we saved £6,000 per annum because they simply had no idea that this thing was working when it actually was. To give you an idea, we are a multiple revenue model, as I said. There are 4 different sorts. So part of the reason I came in and I joined because they were so strong in terms of their IP sales and their grants. So over 1 million on the sale of just 3 IP patents from last year, and 850 grants over the last 2 years. So for me, there was a solid foundation of giving me a bit of a cushion. And what I've been brought in to do is really drive the hardware and the software SaaS platform to really drive up all of that income for a very serious Series A next year. But ultimately, we have that hardware and software mix of revenue income as well. In terms of the possibilities, they are pretty much endless because, like I said, this isn't actually about an isolator, it's about what goes inside it. We have been testing on solar panels in the UK. We've been testing using our single-phase isolator on large electrical motors in industrial warehousing in America as part of our Los Angeles Clean Tech incubator testing. We've tested heat pumps in Madrid. Why have we done that? Because heat pumps and air conditioning units are actually very similar beings, and Octopus Energy are very interested in our tech, and actually one of their senior investment managers actually came in on this existing round as one of the investors. We're also testing on EV charging in Los Angeles, again, with our single-phase isolator, just to see what sort of levels that we can do. So the applications outside of just simply the HVAC system, which is a sizable market in and of itself, we've got massive global potential and massive horizontal integration with lots of different forms of electrical components. So just a reminder, we have already 1 million already committed from One Planet Capital, Rockstart, and we just recently closed a small seeders campaign. We've left that round open. It's a 12 million pre-money valuation, looking for a 250 to 500 to close that round out. And please, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much, James. Great pitch. All right, let's hear from Meredith first this time. Meredith? Yeah.
Hi, James. Yeah, sorry, it's a bit cut off. Great presentation. Yeah, so my question is, compared to like some of your competitors, what's your strategy to beat them in terms of the technology and your go-to-market strategy? I've seen like some similar companies that are doing the same thing. So besides, you know, utilizing advantage of technology to add your value, do you have like any other strategies to be your competitors potentially?
Okay, so let me expand a little bit on that. In terms of actual competitors, in terms of having smart devices like an isolator system, there aren't any. It is the only smart isolator out there in the market which can attach to that HVAC unit. Which actually, when you look at, I suppose, comparable companies, when people are saying, actually, we already work with, let's say, demand logic, and I'll use them as an example to thrash out. For us, they're actually not competitors. They are opportunities of scale. So demand logic, they're already invested with Pi Labs. They've already had a sizable investment at a Series A. They can only take 16% of the market because they need a BMS to actually operate. They need something to plug into. They are a software-based solution. If a building does not have one, they can't operate. They lack the ability to scale globally. And to add to that a little bit, take one of the, I suppose, more well-known traditional businesses in the UK, Groves and the Property Group, with over 200 buildings. They're actually an investor in demand logic, but only 15 of their 200 buildings actually have a BMS. So again, there's always a glass ceiling that demand logic will be able to hit. And it'll be the same with a Measurable, it'll be the same with a Deep Key, it'll be the same with a Scalar Global, who are all data aggregators, as I would call them, rather than the sort of facilitators of the actual information itself. So for me, as a model of growth, they are all absolute perfect partners where, to be perfectly frank, we're more than happy to feed an API directly into a demand logic dashboard. And for them, because they already have the connections, because they're slightly earlier in terms of company growth than us, to actually drive our solution within their customer base. And we just become the engine rather than the actual driver, but it's actually a very quick form of scaling for us. And we are right at this moment testing exactly that thesis with demand logic, with Groves, and one of their investors, because they know they've hit a glass ceiling and they can't go any further. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that actually goes.
Great. So when you think about building partnerships, for example, in US market, do you have a focus on tapping into retrofitting buildings, or you're focusing on the conversion buildings, you know, corporate to residential? Do you have like a priority when you think about building partnerships with this different types of opportunities? Right now, the trend is definitely the conversion, yes, and retrofitting all the time, especially after Local 97 law influence.
Definitely. So do we have so there's two questions, I suppose, in there. Do we have a priority on the partnerships, and do we have a priority, I suppose, on the actual sector itself?
Exactly.
So for me, let's take North America as an absolute example. The North American market, the electrical systems work completely different to mainland Europe. As a consequence, we have a product that is just about to be released for the North American market, which, as part of the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator, we will have a product market entry into that area. We recognize that the North American market is so sizable, whether that be in the US, obviously, or in Canada, which is, again, entirely different. We think that actually there's a license model, a license partnership model, which actually will be a lot easier. So part of the reason we're testing a considerable license deal at the moment in the UK is the fact that we can take that as a carbon copy and just essentially take that over to North America and do exactly the same thing over there. So to put that into perspective, our current license agreement, which we're negotiating now, is with a distributor who sells 30,000 isolators every single month. And they are driving to get smarter solutions. So when it comes to partnership models, for us in terms of scale and growth and quick growth, license models, license partnerships will actually be quicker for us to do than direct partnerships with, take, a Measurable or a Deep Key, or direct for that matter. So the first answer to the question is license partnerships in the North American model, license partnerships into Hong Kong, Singapore, East Asia, for example, are probably a lot quicker for us into market. And if that also takes care of the manufacturing, because again, we are a hardware and a software mix, actually that takes a lot of pain away in terms of the inertia of getting the deals done and keeping stock, holding stock, and as a consequence, having an awful lot on the balance sheet. So for us, license partnership work a lot easier in those markets. In terms of the sector, it's a really interesting one. And I'm really conscious of all the conferences that I do in MC around the world that there is a move, in particular in North America, from that commercial to residential mix. And if I'm brutally honest, I think that is still up for discussion, because the commercial sector offers the largest amount of opportunity. The residential sector doesn't come without barriers, because you've got to work out whether or not you're dealing with multifamily homes or whether you're dealing with the individuals themselves. If it's the individuals themselves, it's really not a scalable market for me. So I think my preference, and I'm talking as I'm sort of thinking here, definitely the commercial marketplace will be a priority over residential. Having said all of that, only some research I was doing recently with the REACH program and NAR, because they couldn't quite believe it when I was saying that 84% of buildings don't have a BMS. They were like, what about residential? And they were the ones that went, oh, wow, hang on, 2.3 billion homes do not have building management systems. So that's a massive market. And they were sort of talking themselves into that. So to go back, commercial is a priority. And especially commercial to residential, it is, I suppose they are retrofitting at that time. It is a great time to be installing, because obviously it's a very quick installation. But yeah, I think commercial is still a priority.
Thank you, James. That's great. Yeah. And personally, I prefer Proptech deals that are bridging the gap between the hardware market and the software market. So your deal is in a perfect spot, tackling those changes, market challenges, the realistic problems. So yeah, I'm rooting for you on this deal, and thank you for answering the questions. Yeah, I'll give that to Mike. Hi, Mike.
Hi, great. Thank you. Thank you, James, for a very interesting presentation, and nice to see you again. I believe we had an opportunity to briefly meet in MIP in Paris a few years back. By the way, are you still with UNISA?
I took a step back 18 months ago.
Oh, you took a step back. Okay.
That was my baby. And I will tell you, being a founder, and all of the guys in here who are founders, there is a passion that you cannot remove. And coming in as a CEO when you didn't found the company is both lovely, because you're dispassionate in terms of making decisions, but it is a very different dynamic, which I have to say I'm actually quite enjoying. It works well.
Okay, that's good. I'm happy for you. And I will start with the first and the most important question I used to hear when I was also speaking with landlords about the implementation of various Proptech technology. So what's my ROI?
Do you want that in time frame, or do you want?
Yeah, maybe payback period or the percentage on the investment, because at the end of the day, especially when you said it, you are leaning more on targeting the commercial investors. When you speak with the decision makers, they're looking at it from the financial perspective. You know that well. So the question is, where's the money? What's my ROI on the investment?
You sound like a landlord. I mean, you are right to the point. No, it's quite, fortunately, it's quite straightforward, because the lifetime value on the device is about £10,000 per device that's fitted. So it's relatively straightforward. Payback period, you're looking at anywhere between 6 to 12 months. It just depends really.
Lifetime value, how do you define lifetime value of the device? You mean the cost, or what do you mean?
Yeah, in terms of overall cost versus savings. So to give you an absolute classic example, we installed in a JLL Waits building in just outside of London 1 month ago, and already we're starting to show savings of £230 per week, just because they don't understand what their building management system was doing and is doing. So the way we break down the lifetime savings is in 3 forms. You have the short-term savings, which is essentially behavioral. What's my building management system doing against what I think it's doing? Or tell me what my building's doing, because I don't know, because I haven't got a building management system. So that's like short-term revenue generation. So £230 a week on a Waits building with about, that is 26 isolators. You then got medium term, which at the moment on that example I can't give you, because obviously medium term is generally sort of 1 month to a year. That is when we take control of that HVAC system, if indeed they want us to. So we can control when there isn't a BMS, and turn on, turn off when people aren't there, when it shouldn't be on and it is on, and so forth. And then there's the long-term lifetime value, which is probably the trickiest and hardest to do, Mike, because it's unproven, is the predictive maintenance side. One of the particular passions, which isn't in this deck, I don't know how I can prove the value of a unit when a lot of landlords will have huge amounts of money on their balance sheet to replace warranty-based scheduling of their HVAC system because it's hit 15 years and their HVAC system is out of warranty. What we will be able to do is to say, well, actually, you probably don't need to replace it for another 3 years because you're still running at 95% efficiency. Sadly, the business hasn't been going for 15 years to be able to prove that that is indeed the case. But what we're able to do is to start, again, moving away from that sort of scheduled maintenance to data-driven maintenance to predictive maintenance, but also from warranty-based scheduled replacement of kit, i.e. massive carbon loss, etc., to a more, again, data-driven and predictive warranty-based replacement of large HVAC equipment. So I can't put a value on that, and I don't even want to pretend that I can at this stage. That will prove out in time, I think.
Yeah. And how would this calculation vary across different regions and geographies? I understand you start in the UK, the next market is the US. So I'd be interested to learn how you value the return and also how you navigate different regulatory requirements and frameworks in the US. And next point on that, have you considered expansion to Asia? Is it on your roadmap, and how are you going to tackle very strong fragmentation of Asian markets?
Yeah, of course, and really good questions and hard on that. So in terms of ROI per region, let's start on that. Because I think that's actually the hardest for me to tell and report back, because it ultimately depends on the usage, and usage is not just about how we use it as society, it's also about how legislatively we use it. So there are stipulations about warranty-based replacement of equipment, for example, in Europe, whereas in the Middle East, it's generally accepted they will keep on using the equipment until it dies, and literally dies. So I can't even start to estimate the ROI difference based on societal use, but also legislative stipulations of use. So that's very difficult for me to do. All I can say is obviously the ROI is going to be better when there's more stringent demands on the equipment, but also a legislative design, which is why, segueing into your second point about expansion, for me, classic markets, and this is perhaps where we could be talking about Europe, so France, Germany, Holland, there is a legal statute to have isolators, which are these funny little things. There's a legal statute of having these on all your buildings, where, for example, in Spain and Greece, there are not. They don't have to have them. So in terms of my stepping stone, it's UK into Europe. To bring in Meredith's point earlier on, it's about taking those license agreements, transferring them over to France, Germany, and Holland, because that's a really easy move to market. There's high legislative demand, both on the usage of HVAC systems, but also on the reporting of, because of CSRD regulations. And so that would be my route. In terms of Asia, slightly different, because Asia doesn't have a legal stipulation on having an isolator unit as a requirement. However, it still has, and it's increasingly so on the reporting side. So just because I'm giving you one of these, it doesn't need one of these. We can stick them into fused spurs, for example, and still do predictive maintenance on them. So it'll just be a case of finding what works, making sure it's cost effective, and then we can expand into Asia. But we're in talks probably post Series A with, and you'll probably know Alex from Undivided, who's also keen to bring it over to Singapore in particular, obviously, and Hong Kong.
Hong Kong, yeah.
But he wanted to come in at Series A, not at this sort of bridge round. So it was a bit too early for him in terms of the revenue projections, wanted to see a Series A start. North America, very, very different, because we've got a bit of a push-pull effect there with the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator, where they want to drive market entry for us. And we have a specific American product that, by the way, we can also use in the UK, because the problems with this unit is it only goes up to 32 amps, which is our normal split systems in buildings. With the American product, we can actually bring it in and start doing large chillers, which are on the rooftops, which are over 32 amps, which are where the big savings come in. So there's quite a lot of reasons to do the US market at the same time as the UK.
And have you done any data modeling based on, for example, Southeast Asian or East Asian countries where HVAC system operate very often on high utilization or like high usage? Yeah, okay.
I'll start focusing on that in a big way, probably end of Q1 next year, when Series A is getting very close. For the moment, my absolute focus is getting the UK market solid, and then the expansion from there. Okay,
thanks for that. And one last question, because I'm not sure I got it properly from the pitch in terms of the IP sales, because I saw in the presentation you mentioned 1 million in revenues from the IP sales. Can you elaborate a bit more? Is it connected with?
Yeah, so Verv as a core product obviously is where it is now. But before 2017, we had Verv was a slightly different iteration. It was working in energy peer-to-peer trading. And 3 of the patents that were built at that time were sold to a very large US technology company because they were unrelated to the direction that Verv was taking. They were sold for $1 million to an exceedingly large technology company that we've all heard of around this table. We've still got another 13 patents which are available. Some are directly involved with what Verv do now, some are not. And we're just currently applying for another patent for me, which is my visionary aspect, which is we've been able to identify levels of coolant leak within HVAC systems. And bearing in mind, every single HVAC system can have between 1 kilogram and 12 kilogram of coolant, which is effectively like oil in your car. It makes it work better. For every kilogram of coolant that leaks from an HVAC system, 2 tons of carbon is leaked into the atmosphere. And
okay, so with regards to the IP sales, as for the current business goes, it's more of a legacy non-recurring revenue than something of a going concern, right?
But one thing to make a point on that is that the IP themselves have been independently valued at a valuation of 40 million euros.
Okay.
Existing ones now.
Okay, great. Thank you, James. Thank you for the presentation and happy to stay in touch.
Yeah, I just want to add one last thing. This can be a piece of advice. I think you can also tap into luxury real estate market in US. And I assume many customers, they want like customized HVAC system, meaning your product can be a perfect fit. And that's a huge market if you can build partnerships from that layer. Luxury real estate market, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, James, Meredith, and Mike, for this interesting discussion. And we have a third presenter tonight, and it's Luigi Visconti with FreedHome.
Hi.
Hi, Luigi. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. I'm doing good. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us here. Thanks to the advisors for attending as well. I'm gonna share. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you well.
Fantastic. Thanks. So I'm gonna share my screen. So thanks again for having us here. I'm Luigi Visconti, founder and CEO at FreedHome, and our job is to transform your property into a risk-free passive income instantly. But before I dive into that, let me first ask you a question that I usually ask to the audience. So who of you thinks that renting his own property is a stressful process? So the kind of process you like to delegate. Just to tell you, the answer to this question is often quite unanimous. So there is a strong perception that renting out the house, the whole house, is a stressful and risky process. So from an let's say what should be an opportunity sounds like a challenge. And this is quietly backed from, strongly backed from global data. On average, it takes up to 2 months to rent out a property with medium long-term rentals. And it takes up to 40 hours a week to manage short-term rentals. That is basically managing a small hotel, no? With all the activities that are involved. And yet the tenant delinquencies, like insolvency risk or delays in payment, are quite high at 7% of total rents. These are among the main reasons why at the moment, in globally speaking, we have 162 million of vacant residential properties. So that should be an opportunity. Looks like a problem. And the opportunity is actually very big because the global rental residential housing market accounts globally 3.7 trillion dollars, and that's 80% of total real estate market. It is also one of the biggest industry, but also the most resilient industry because it is not affected by economic downturns. And is strongly growing given to the different factors like urbanization or changing demographics, so people are more inclined to rent as opposed to buy a house. Also economic reasons for sure, like increase in house prices and also stricter regulation on mortgage requirements. So it's growing very fast. So what we have in front of us, we have a crystal clear problem in a huge, resilient and fast-growing industry. So that's why we decided to digitize and simplify renting across the globe. And we are doing it by standardizing the way the landlord is renting out his own property by a process that we call instant renting. So 3 simple steps for renting out the property. First thing, you just upload your property info and instantly get the rental income estimate. Step 2, you activate the service and you meet your local property manager, and he will start taking care of the rental setup and the rental management for all the time the property will be rented out. And in the end, you can just relax with your risk-free passive income because your property manager will handle everything for you. You just get this income automatically each month straight in your bank account like a subscription. The property manager will take care of the setup, listings, admin work, cleaning, check-ins, check-outs, so you can basically live hassle-free. As for the model, we operate as a platform as a service with a B2B model, where through our platform, we link landlords with independent property managers, which are the affiliates of this platform, who fully manage rentals through the FreedHome platform in exchange for a recurring fee on the property's gross booking revenues. So this is what landlords pay recurrently to affiliated property managers. And we earn from affiliates a 6% net average recurring fee on the GBR for offering them main services like property origination, the PMS, so the software to manage short-term rentals operation, and FreedHome Pay, which is our innovative payment system where they can collect seamlessly commissions and fees from the landlords. The beauty of it is basically that as long as the landlord doesn't recall the property and wants to rent out the property, this is a perpetual yield for the affiliate and for the platform itself. So what we did is basically to transform a house in a SaaS model. The other cool thing is that to manage rental and related payments, property managers use our PMS and FreedHome Pay, which allows us to control fully the property data and recurring cash flows. The scalability of the model is also reflected in numbers. After just 6 months from launch, we generated almost $500,000 in gross booking revenues. The last closing in May posted a GBR per month of 100,000 euros, corresponding to a month net recurring fee of 7,000 euros and an annual net recurring fee of 84,000. And we post on this number a gross margin of 85%. Okay, this is on the annual recurring revenue on MRR, and an LTV over CAC ratio of 75 times. After this, please challenge on this because I know that it sounds like an astonishing ratio, but it actually is, and we can dig deeper. And also the speed at which we are proceeding is super fast. We are growing at 40% month over month. We have been growing in the last 6 months, and this will bring us to in September to achieve 400K in gross booking revenues per month, corresponding to 5 million gross booking revenues annually speaking, and a net ARR of 300K. So this is very astonishing, and this is also the means by which we want to achieve. We want to achieve what we believe. This is actually our big vision. And our big vision is to transform the real estate by turning every property into a standardized liquid asset class. FreedHome is basically doing this by automating asset origination and managing and fully controlling property data and cash flows. And this is how we will enable property cash flows, risk, and value appreciation to be traded like traditional financial instruments, fostering scalable financial and insurance products globally. So far, we've been backed by important institutions like Bocconi University, CDP, which is basically the Italian state, Nova Capital, and Coima. We have raised 800K among the equity and debt. And we now basically are boosting our volume. So we are scaling up very fastly, and we are on track to do that. And our objective for 2026 is to collect a portfolio of almost 30,000 properties. This will be reflected in our business plan numbers that I will invite you to challenge very, very strongly. We are looking for 1 million in our seed round with expected closing as of September 2024. We will post, as said, 5 million corresponding GBR, annual GBR by that time, and a 300K in net ARR. Use of proceeds is basically mostly to consolidate our tech infrastructure, to increase brand awareness, and increase our talent team. Together, we absolutely believe we can make it, because let's be fair, at the end of the day, we are all stressed by too many things. But at FreedHome, we believe that renting out your house is just an opportunity and must make your life better and stress-free. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Luigi. Great pitch. All right, let's ask Mike for his feedback.
Hi, Luigi. Nice to meet you. Thank you for the presentation. I'd like to start with a question about the tenants here, because it seems that the platform is very landlord focused. Can you please elaborate a bit more on the business model, the affiliation with property managers, and who's responsible for the marketing and bring in tenants?
Absolutely. So we give instruments to affiliated property managers to originate new landlords, basically based on our standardized service, basically the full management service that we have in our terms and conditions. So basically, FreedHome, you can look at it as the virtual platform where affiliated property managers meet landlords based on a standardized contract. They basically accept. And after that, the property is being transferred to the setup phase. And from the setup onwards, it's all about the affiliated property manager operation. Okay, so basically the tenant thing and the operation, like the check-ins, the listings. We are talking here mostly about the short-term rental. So the tenant is mostly guests that stays like few days booking, and all the go-to-market for that is taken care by affiliated property managers, which use PMS. The PMS is the tool whereby they can distribute the listings among different OTAs, so Airbnb, Booking, VRBO, and these things. They collect the bookings, they manage the check-ins, the cleanings, but it's all about their operation side.
So it is your proprietary PMS, right? So that's the solution.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's so far we have integrated services that are mostly third-party services. FreedHome Pay, it's the sole service we developed internally. And why is that? Is that because our added value is the automation, the automation of the funnel, is the automation of the process, and FreedHome Pay, and the network, of course, we have established in Italy. But the PMS itself, it's a commodity, okay? It's a tool you can find everywhere. So we added value by aggregating all this. And also for the property manager is a no-brainer to affiliate to us, because he has the platform to manage the short-term rentals, to eliminate all the admin work through FreedHome Pay, but most importantly, to get easily already basically already contractualized clients. Okay, so we are an incredible boost for them.
Okay, so you take care of providing the supply side here of the real estate transaction, and the property manager is the one that is still responsible for finding tenants and marketing
Absolutely.
the property
Absolutely.
as he would do in his regular part of business. But what you are doing, you're taking part of the supply side and automating this.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. And by means of that, reaching the big vision, which is basically to rapidly collect all these assets at a fast pace to then distribute financial products.
Okay, and then the cut rate here is the 6%, that's the fee. And how do you find this being accepted by the managers and the market transaction? Because it seems it's not low, like it also gives you a regular claim on the revenues here. So I'm interested to see how you...
That's a super good question. The 6% average fee includes the marketing basically, and the contractualization of the client, so the property origination, the PMS, and FreedHome Pay. Normally speaking,
so it includes PMS and FreedHome Pay.
Absolutely, it includes everything. It's an all-in fee to avoid, let's say, the front-running risk. Out of the, let's say, 60 affiliates we have so far in Italy, there haven't been like cases so far of front-running risk. So front-running mean like they basically go straight to the client. But what are the let's say the means whereby we cover this risk? First of all, it's all managed by our system. So as soon as a property manager decides not to to detach one property from our system, we are immediately alerted. Okay. Secondly, this is not like a booking. You can go not to booking.com, but you go straight to the hotel. This is a property which is online by definition. So you can always like you can always detect that the property is online. So this is the disincentivizing, of course, the property manager to do that. And on top of it, we have on terms and condition, they obliged to, if they do the front running, they are gonna pay one year of gross booking revenue as a penalty. So it's a conglomeration of things. So far, we haven't had any front running cases, because I think it's just it's the right pricing point. Okay, they are incentivized to grow with us.
Okay, got it. Thank you. And I also understand that your value creation, value add comes from a good network of access to landlords and the access to properties that you can create and put on the place on the platform. And my question is on the scaling to other markets. What's your go-to-market strategy when expanding to other markets outside of Italy, and which markets would you choose?
Sure. Thanks for the question. So just a quick digression on the landlord funnel. Everything is also automated, of course, here. So we buy traffic online, we put in our funnel system, and it converts. So we just engineer the conversion rate of the optimization, that everything is automatic, no? So this could be done immediately in any other part of the world, regardless of the regulation, regardless of the market specifics, because we just need to translate the funnel. So that's the beauty of our formula. So it's rapidly scalable internationally speaking. In terms of the go-to-market to property manager and the selection, that was also a touch point. Actually, none of the current affiliates we have met in person, okay? Because everything is automated also there. They follow a short academy, online academy, after the lead has been collected inbound, and they train basically on our formula, and then they are just enabled to collect the leads after one call that one of our sales is taken with them. So they this is the final double check. In terms of requirements, they need to be above certain professionality requirements, like they have 5 properties in their portfolio, 2 years of experience. Of course, they must be a company. So we take care a lot of the selection, because of effectively the selection of these guys is key. And also these guys are rated immediate, and also after 3 months, and during the management by the landlords. So there is also rating systems that allows to not to make an adverse selection on the platform. The go-to-market is what is our one of the value add that we have is also that we have automated all the internal funnels, the marketing funnels, and internal processes. So we are super lean and super fast. I'm not sure I have answered your question.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So
Thank you, Mike.
thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Mike.
hear from Meredith.
Hi, Luigi. Thank you for the presentation.
Hi.
My question is related to your past business model. So how did you decide the figure at 6%? Did you do any testing compared to other ratio?
You mean the 6%?
Yeah, like how
average
did you
fee?
decide the figure at 6% on GBR?
Basically, it's you can add up like this. If you are a property manager, you buy a PMS, you buy a revenue management system, let's say medium high quality. Some are in percentage of your gross booking revenue, some are in absolute values, but basically is from 3 to 3.5%. Okay, in terms of GBR. Secondly, you need to, let's say, there is not a comparison in the market, but the Freedom Pay also has a value. The other thing is, with these properties, they don't have to do any marketing campaigns. They rely on the Freedom brand to acquire new properties. And this is actually why they are available to pay a markup on the, let's say, just buying the tools in the market, because they recognize that this value is very important. So let's say in calculating it, we added up to the markup, the marketing markup, to the normal fee they anyway would have borne for buying these tools on the market. And is actually very, very well accepted. So basically, in practice, nobody was of the affiliates is now complaining about the pricing.
Sounds good. Let's say in 5 years, do you plan to raise this figure to 9% based on the traction you have accumulated? This is like a futuristic question.
Yeah.
Like imagine in 5 years, if you have great traction, will you make changes on this model? This is a very interesting model. Yeah.
Thanks. No. That's a very good question. And my thoughts on this was that instead of with volumes increasing, there is no need to increase and to stress about the pricing of this model. In fact, I can decrease this average fee. Okay, it's not about, because as you can see from the slide about the numbers, we have an LTV over cost of acquisition of 75 times. This is based on historical numbers. So I don't have any, let's say, top line or pricing issue here. I can do almost whatever I want with the pricing. So I can adapt. And my guess in adapting it is also, at scale for reducing the front-running risk, is instead of increasing, is to decrease the price when to go global. Also to adapt maybe to other markets where property managers are more liquid in terms of the supply side. So they are less willing to accept, 6% pricing. You see what I mean? So I don't have particular As you can see here, this is the calculation of the LTV over cost of acquisition. And this is actually quite self-explaining. I mean, it's a model whereby I don't have any operation. Everything is standardized, so the quality of service is kept very high level thanks to the selection we have. And basically, we are just engineering the conversion rate optimization. We are aggregating services. We are increasing the. So it's very simple model, but very powerful at the same time.
I see. So you plan to decrease actually.
Yeah.
When you scale. Okay, that makes sense. When you have the larger piece of pie of market, I guess that makes more sense. Okay, thank you.
That's my feeling.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Meredith. Thank you, Luigi and Mike. All right, this was the final pitch for tonight. So thank you so much, everyone, for participating in this event. We will be having this event regularly, so just follow us on LinkedIn to stay tuned for the date. And it was a real pleasure to have you here. Yeah, I wanted to say also that there will be a recording of the event that we will share to everyone that joined, and also contact list of everyone who attended. So there is a chance to continue the discussion even after the event. So I hope you enjoyed tonight, and hope to see you all soon again at the Startup Club.
Thank you for the great organization and for the
Thank you so much
speeches today. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Have a good day.
all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Cheers.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.